Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, I want to go through the intercooler setup and how I got to this stage. Stay tuned. Thanks for tuning, guys. If you haven't yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the post notification bell to stay up to date with this build. With that being said, let's get into it. Alrighty guys, so I've had the Forester for probably 12 years now, I think it would be, and it's gone through a lot of changes. Gone through a lot of different setups, a lot of different configurations, different intercoolers. So let's start from the beginning. So I'll be putting up some photos, if I can find them, of the setups that I did have. I did post a lot up on OzFoz, which was a forum, and I don't think it's up anymore, so a lot of my photos were there. I started the build there and then I moved over onto YouTube. Alright, so I actually bought this stock. Would you believe it? So it is 2001 Auto GT. It had the top mount cooler, which I've still got for roadworthy purposes. And from there, I bought an APS top mount intercooler, which was a big, fat, thick one. My best mate bought a silver GT manual. I think it was a 2000 model. Would have been a few months before me. I bought this because I needed the boot space, because at the time I was a PT. I had a little Pulsar GTIR and I didn't have the boot space to throw all the weights and battle ropes and everything in there, so that's why I bought this. But anyways, I had the APS intercooler top mount. I made a intercooler diffuser thing with a splitter. That's what it is. It's still at my parents' place, and I think it was at that point that I blew the radiator. So that did head gasket. So at my parents' place we rebuilt it. I got this Golfer radiator, and it was at that point when I decided I wanted to go a little bit further, and it was then I decided that I actually wanted to do a low mount turbo. So I got the exhaust manifold, the turbo manifold that I got because of that, where the flange is actually just here, when a lot of them go to the normal stock position, so you can just change your up part. So I always knew I wanted to have a turbo down here, so that made me think about the front mount intercooler. This is just a universal front mount intercooler. I'll measure it up and I'll put the details up on the screen. And if I can find the website I got it off, I'll chuck a link up as well. So to fit that in, this is a GT. It had fog lights, so I went to the wreckers to a limited one and got the reinforcement from that, because it doesn't have that extra section, so I could just cut that section out. Now this is bolted through the top. So under this piece, there's a bolt that goes into the top. And underneath, I actually don't have it bolted, but you can go straight across from there. It's pretty damn solid. So I bought the intercooler separate. I need the intercooler piping. This was quite a few years ago, so I knew I wanted it to go around this way and come up and in that way. There were kits, probably still are kits, that go from here out and down and come through that way. I was looking up GC8 cooler kits, and I bought a cooler kit. So that came from the stock location, came around, down, through here, straight down into here. Does a nice big U-turn, and it came up here. It went across, around, and in. So obviously the battery was still there. You can see where the pipe was rubbing, and it'll go over the fuel lines, and it just went up really high. It was a weird angle. It would, not on this bonnet, but it would rub on the bonnet. It was really hard to get right. So I ran that for a little while, and then I bought the GT35. So I did the rotated setup, and I still use that kit, but I ended up hacking it all up. The outlet for the compressor was actually facing down that way, and it would come through this way. It didn't come under the manifold then, so it came out this way, and it just did the same thing, went up and around. Then I did the low mount setup, and that's when I hacked up that kit completely. So I did still have it coming up and around, but in this section here, I did have a big curve and come around. It was still 2-inch, and then around this area it went up to the 2.5, and ended up cutting it up. And I believe this is still part of the kit, and over here is still part of the kit. This is still part of the kit, and now the piece that was up the top there is actually down here. So this is the part that used to go into the throttle body. So there's a blow off valve, and that actually fits really well over the cross member, and it comes up here. Now I did cut it. There is a joint down there, and then I bought a universal kit, which are these ones. So I've got a 90, and we've got a 90, and the silicon couplers came with that. So it moves down to this bad boy here. You may have seen that. That's called a Cobra coupler. So you can probably tell. So that's a 2 1/4, I believe, to 2 1/2, and yeah, nice and tight. So I actually bought that for when I had the compound set up with both of them at the top. I'll put up a photo of that now. So that's where this whole running the pipe under the manifold actually started, was when I had them both up there. So I've actually got I think it's 8mm spacers on the manifold that brings it up, and that allows that also to go through there at a pretty crazy angle. So yeah, so my setup is Frankenstein pretty much. There's GC8, there's universal, and lots of silicon couplers. So eventually I'd like to probably do it again, a lot better, a lot neater. If we do start to get some crazy power, we'll probably have to get rid of these couplers and go to those clamps that use O-rings, and they are really expensive, so I'd probably use less of them. So obviously you'd use one here, but yeah, it's slowly coming together. Now it's tuning and waiting for parts. We are in another lockdown that happened tonight. It's Thursday night, so another week off work, but I do have kids, so can't be out here all the time. But yeah, so mix and match. A lot of GC8 stuff does fit onto the Forester with a bit of finagling. That fits really well into an SCI bumper. I did hack up the bumper, as you can tell. I only did that recently. I still had all this in here, but it still had a good 2 or 3 inches of airflow. But yeah, I just cut it out. So that's the full thing of the core for the intercooler. Oh, yeah. Comment down below if you want to know anything else about the build. There's plenty to talk about this build. I need to work out my oiling, so I'll finish this episode off here and head back over to what I was doing yesterday. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.